Well, I'm reliably informed Red Bull gives you wings. Yo, what's going on, friends? How's it going? And welcome on back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. I do hope you're doing well, mate. I really do hope that, and welcome back to Chelsea News. Of course, it is the daily series here on the channel where I reflect on what's been said about Chelsea, giving you my thoughts on it, but more importantly, as always, asking for yours. In today's video, we are reflecting on some sponsor news. That's right, Twitter football business expert Lou Klaas has spoken about who Chelsea have been speaking to in relation to a sponsor. Yes, that's right, the horrible long road, the dismal journey, the upsetting slog to trying to finally get a transfer, my brain is melting, a front of shirt sponsor, full-time, a proper main sponsor on the Chelsea shirt is a very, very difficult thing. We're going to learn a little bit more about that. Interesting that we've spoken to Red Bull and others. Red Bull all over the gap. My gut instinct reaction is not a great one with that, but we're going to react to that story there. Also, Chelsea have hired Jurgen Klopp's former head of recruitment expert, which might be a good thing. But it's kind of confusing because Jurgen Klopp used to buy ready-made players. You know, your Virgil van Dijks, your Alissons, other good players. Does that mean we're going to buy like a really good senior goalkeeper and striker? Wow, I'm pulling that sort of hopeful guess out of nowhere. We shall see, and we're going to get into it. So, welcome on back. Settle in, get comfortable. Hey, pour yourself a drink. Coffee, booze if you drink it. Maybe not, probably shouldn't endorse that. Or just a glass of a non-alcoholic carbonated beverage. Or milk. Or perhaps not. Drink what you want, eat what you want. Welcome to Chelsea News. Thank you for joining me, thank you for liking, thank you for subscribing. Heck, if you're a returning visitor and you are yet to subscribe, now's your chance to make a difference. I'm talking to you, there, who hasn't subscribed yet, who's thinking, you know what, Jan's on 199,000 subs, I should probably subscribe now. I can be that guy, or gal, probably guy. Right then, let's get into it. I tell you what, before we get into the sponsor stuff, because that is interesting when you see like company names and you link them to your club, you think, oh, that's interesting. I want to learn a little bit more about this new recruitment guy, and Sam Wallace of The Telegraph has wrote on this subject, so let's hop into that and learn together. Wallace writes the following. Dave Fallows, the celebrated former Liverpool recruitment expert, is set to take up a similar senior role at Chelsea. Fallows, who is 45 years old, left Liverpool in September last year, having been part of the team under Michael Edwards that built Jurgen Klopp's Premier League title-winning side, before then doing the same again for Arne Slot with his triumphant squad last season. Interesting. Although the squad last season, there wasn't much building involved. It was very much Arne Slot coming in going, I'm not going to change anything. Gravenberg, you play sort of Regista CDM. They signed Chiesa. I mean, what? Come on. Fallows has been approached by Chelsea's key figure, Bedanik Barley, and his fellow investors to join a well-resourced recruitment team at Stamford Bridge. Although the agreement has not yet been finalised, he is expected to have a range of duties including scouting and data, player development pathways and loans, and football operations. The latter is expected to include recruitment of coaches and staff as well as players. Ooh, watch out, Enzo Maresca, a new geezer's coming in who can recruit coaches. Hopefully we don't need to recruit a coach anytime soon. Interesting that Bedanik Barley is throwing his weight around. Of course, Clearlake Capital are the majority owners of Chelsea Football Club. You got Todd Bowley, who remains to be the chairman, but doesn't do much these days, apart from talk at financial press conferences. But I tell you what though, off the bat, this sounds good. We're bringing in a guy who's built Premier League winning team, Champions League winning team. I mean, we all understand, I say we all, I'm not going to speak for the Chelsea fan base. Many of us, including myself, see certain benefits from the young wage and young age model. I think that it future-proofs Chelsea and it prevents you from going into this mercenary model where you turn into Man United in the last decade. But I think everyone agrees, getting in there, we were so close to signing Alisson, and indeed Van Dijk, but more so Alisson before Kepa. Getting those kind of key figures in can be a real difference maker. And who knows, maybe Fallows is that boy, man. Chelsea have become a major player trader since the 2022 takeover by the consortium led by Eghbali and Bowley. The club spent excess of £1 billion in signings, although the net spend, of course, is significantly less. Fallows will join a senior football leadership team headed up by dual sporting directors Paul Winstanley, one of many, of course, to come from Brighton, and Lawrence Stewart, previously at Monaco. In addition, they have Sam Jewell, of course, son of manager Paul, who is also arrived from Brighton, and Joe Shields, once of Palace, Man City and Southampton. I think we all like Joe Shields, don't we? Fallows began his career as an analyst, just like Michael Edwards, who is now Chief of Executive for Football for the entire Fenway Sports Group. So of course, they're the owners of Liverpool. There's a little bit more on this, but I'll let you guys go and jump into it and read on. Michael Edwards, Chelsea, I think, looked at him for a while. I think loads of other teams. I think maybe Man United? Certainly, loads of teams were interested because Michael Edwards built the super team of Klopp, the Klopp Champions League, Premier League winning team, and indeed the team that, kept pushing Man City and probably should have had one or two more titles if it wasn't for those narrow margins. Yeah, so he's now the big dog at Fenway Sports Group, the owners of Liverpool, but this geezer, Fallows, was apparently very important indeed in terms of recruitment. Now, it doesn't get the juices flowing too much, because if there's one thing we constantly hear in Chelsea news, is Chelsea getting recruitment of either staff or players, and here's another member of staff. But maybe it does make you think, if they're bringing in this geezer, and there's loads and loads of roles, he has to do this, he has to do this, I'll be in charge of this, oh, and also you'll have to do this as well, mate. He'll certainly have his work cut out for him. Be interesting to see how much, should this deal go over the line, how much say he has in the meeting rooms or whatever, how much weight his voice carries. If he says, look, I built winning teams, it does show ambition, because they brought in a guy who's built a Premier League winning team, / teamser. So it shows ambition to say, yeah, we're not just trying to buy children from South America and flog them around European leagues for profit, we're actually bringing in a guy to, build a winning team, which I must say, maybe is good. A lot of people have given the Chelsea ownership a hard time in terms of recruitment. Of course, they originally signed that sort of motivational guy from the All Blacks ages ago, and he sort of fizzled out and no one knew what happened to him. But of course, since we brought in Willie Issa, which by all accounts the players really like, they respond to his social media stuff. The recently retired rugby player, doing the hacker in the dressing room when he's in for mentality and team spirit. It may be a coincidence, but since that geezer's come in, we seem to have a much stronger mentality and team spirit in the young Chelsea squad. I'm not saying it's definitively Willie Issa that's done it, but it looks good, right? So maybe these sort of more niche appointments are actually helping Chelsea. And maybe bringing in Fallows will be the final transformative piece to turn Chelsea in from an inexperienced, immature, but talented young team to winners, and the final form, the final Chelsea boss form that wins Premier Leagues again and we become whole again. Here's to hoping. Right then, let's move on in the video and talk about front of shirt sponsor. Trying to learn Wagwan. What is happening? So yes, Lukas Bazcek, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, did post about some information on Chelsea. He seems to be well informed when it comes to sponsors, business and football. He tweets or posts on X the following. Chelsea have approached a number of global brands about sponsorship, including Red Bull, Oracle, Lenovo, and of course Qatar Airways, which we've seen being linked before. As mentioned earlier, in recent months, the club has also been in talks with other companies from the technology, entertainment, and airline sectors. Well, if we can have entertainment, can we have Nintendo? I'm saying that's my inner child talking. I think I bought a Switch Lite years and years ago. I'm a PlayStation guy now. But I feel like the spirit of video games died a long time ago for me. I still play them all the time. Yeah, I don't know. What would you want as a main front shirt sponsor? Maybe something a bit left field that you wouldn't expect. It's got to look cool aesthetically in the motif, but I suppose Chelsea won't give a so-and-so about that. They care about the money. Let's read on. The main obstacle to completing the deal is the club's financial expectations, not the FA's allegations of payments to agents. Red Bull has 6 Premier League partnerships, wow, including the majority shareholder and of course front of shirt sponsor of Leeds United. Yeah, so Red Bull are a huge company, but I don't really think of Red Bull as like, you know, they do like, you know, obviously Salzburg and Leipzig and New York Red Bulls and Leeds. And, you know, they probably have shirt sponsors, drink sponsors and stuff like that in Premier League teams. And they feel like a big player in football, but they don't feel like we're on the front of shirts of Premier League and Champions League winners. I want to say this feels a bit tacky, but it feels a bit mid-table, middle class, doesn't it? Personally. The Red Bull Chelsea. I mean, obviously it wouldn't be changing the name. Although it'll be, you know, depending on how big the deal goes, the new Stamford Bridge, Red Bull Stamford Bridge. I don't like it. A £60 million deal is unlikely despite the Austrian company's increased marketing spending. A deal with Red Bull would ultimately terminate its agreement with the Predator Energy brand owned by Monster Bev Corp. Right, well that's Red Bull. Oracle was the official sponsor of the Premier League until the end of the 24-25 season under a deal worth approximately £10 million annually. This summer it then announced a 5-year agreement with the Red Bull Racing F1 team with approximately $60 million. Over the summer, the club held talks with Lenovo, Qatar Airwaves and the Bank of America, which were also sponsors of the FIFA Club World Cup in the US, funnily enough, guys. In May this year, the Chinese brand Lenovo and Motorola became a top-tier FIFA partner in a multi-million-dollar deal. Yeah, I mean, this ownership group, Bank of America, you can see it, couldn't you? To be honest, out of all those names, out of all those sort of brands, partners, companies, nothing really jumps out and says cool, but what does in this day and age with main front of shirt sponsor? You've got like Etihad, you've got Emirates, loads of stuff from the Middle East, of course Qatar Airwaves being heavily linked with Chelsea here. To be honest, without even talking about the politics, the geopolitics of stuff, the whatever, because I'm sure the Bank of America are, you know, are clean as a whistle, right? If you're just talking literally about the logo, I mean, there's something quite delicate about the Qatar Airwaves thing, but for me, it's just about putting Chelsea first and getting that financial security over the line as soon as possible. So Qatar Airwaves have previously held talks. As Sky revealed last year, Chelsea has been on the radar of the Bank of America for over 2 years, but for a significantly lower amount than the Blues were expecting. It appears that Haya, of course, which there's got to be the sleeve sponsor, are no longer going to become the sleeve sponsor. Having secured a multi-year deal with Liverpool, PSG and Al Hilal, they currently have no plans for further expansion into football. Vietnamese company FPT Software previously expressed an interest in larger sponsorship package. So let's break this down. Chelsea have spoken to loads and loads of companies for a front of shirt main sponsor. I get it, so tricky, isn't it? Because I get it after a while, we sold loads of shirts with our sponsor, we're keeping our powder dry, we're waiting to be in a stronger negotiating position. Chelsea have achieved, in theory, that stronger negotiating position. They qualified for the Champions League, massive tick. They won the Conference League, which, you know, had you not won that, it maybe would have been a bit of an embarrassment, but of course it got at least Europa League football. There's a tick in there as well. And hugely, importantly, the Club World Cup. Because the world was watching, and the world was watching while sponsored. I know we had Damac. Did we have Damac on the Club World Cup? I can't remember. Well, I think we might have been sponsorless at that point. Slapping up European champions PSG 3-0 in the final. You know, Dembele getting dunked on by Cole Palmer. Dembele, you know, the Ballon d'Or winner to be. Oh, this young Chelsea team's really exciting. Not only are you, in theory, putting your company, you're sponsoring this, you know, the Club World Cup champions for 4 years. It also turns out that this team is a really young team and they're going to get better and better and better. So you're sort of investing in their development as well. All of that put together, in theory, put Chelsea in a really strong negotiating position. But here we are, still nothing, you know, finalised, no real truth. Or no real obvious news that's saying we're probably going to have Qatar Airways, we're probably going to have Bank of America. But it is interesting to get a little update here from @LouClass on X to learn who we have been talking to and what's going on. I mean, I know nothing or very little about football finance. I did think we would be qualified to secure a £60 million a year deal. Looking at the landscape, if Man United are getting 70 million a year from Snapdragon for a long-term deal, I know Man United are the biggest club in England. But in terms of where Chelsea are, the Club World Cup, Champions League football, again, a much younger team than United, trending in the right direction. Chelsea does have a big international fan base. I'm not saying we should have the 70 million Man United get, but I really did think we were worthy of 60 million. Maybe we'll still get it. Maybe there's just some real niche stuff, and maybe it's something to do with the ownership clash, the civil war. I don't know. I'm totally guessing and speculating there. But I do want it sorted because we're going to have played an entire half of this season without a sponsor. Again, it's a joke. It's funny. It's weird. It's peculiar. It's very worrying. Anyway, I, of course, will keep you guys updated with any developments, small or big, here on the channel. So do make sure you have the bell notifications icon turned on when you subscribe to this channel, Football Therapy. In the meantime, I'll thank you for liking, drop your comments down below, and I hope to see you back here very soon. Alright, peace.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo, chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me, baby.